All right, cool. So let's start with, because I know we want to get to a couple of topics today, including hot driver faces, smash factors, stuff like that. But
Yes.
before we get there, right, we're catching a lot of this information from the PGA Tour's website, where they have a great catalog of all of the data, really, from ShotLink, right, which is a system that was started almost 25 years ago, something like that now, where every shot on the PGA Tour has been measured, calculated, all that stuff, and obviously with some good analysis and some new metrics, players can kind of dive in to figure out what their strengths and weaknesses are and all that stuff. But yeah, so ShotLink data, all that stuff that's available, allows us to kind of dive into what these guys are really doing and how they're scoring well.
Yes,
right?
I think ShotLink is probably, all that data is probably the most valuable information that anybody on the PGA Tour can receive. It allows them to, I would argue, get better faster, allows them to stay on tour, identify their weaknesses. They're the best players in the world, right? They already have a pretty good idea of what they struggle with, but to see it laid out, cut and dry in front of you, some players in certain categories, it's pretty alarming what they might see, particularly right now Scotty Scheffler with his putting, which is interesting to me because it makes me wonder, like, does he not look at ShotLink? Because he's currently number one in every single strokes gained category.
It's amazing.
He's such a flusher right now. It's stupid how good he's hitting it. He's currently 148th on tour in strokes gained putting. And he's been asked about it the last few weeks after the Memorial.
He's rolling some new stuff the last couple of days.
I saw that.
LA.
I think that's good. I think at some point when it's that bad, he's not, it's not like he's not practicing. Like,
right.
I mean, he's probably living on the green right now. What's kind of weird to me is that he seems to not be ignoring it, but act as if it's not much of an issue. I don't know if he's playing mental gymnastics with himself, which, if he is, great. I think a lot of those guys tend to do that, and I think that's probably why they're as good as they are.
The last 2 weeks, right, or I guess prior to the RBC, right, it was Memorial and Colonial, right? I think he lost, 12 and a half strokes to the field at Memorial on the greens, 4.5 or 5 to the field at Colonial, two tournaments that he should have won if he putted even just flat out poorly.
Yeah.
I mean, it was atrociously bad.
If he had an average, poor putting week for an average tour player, he would have won.
he was putting like your 23 handicapper at the club.
Yeah, it's not
It
good.
was brutal. Like like someone chopped one of his hands off. It was terrible.
It's not good. Not good. And he seems to be ignoring it, which, like I said, maybe is a good thing. But at some point, it's like, dude, you got to face the music. You're hitting it so good. I mean, we're talking like Tiger 2000 ball striking right now. It's unbelievable how well he's hitting the ball.
Well, technically, right, only, we heard a stat earlier this week that only Vijay Singh in the ShotLink era, right, since that data has been available, at, I think, TBC Boston, Deutsche Bank, 2004, 5, 6, something like that. Only Vijay Singh owns a better strokes gained number, tee to green, than Scotty Scheffler. So he's number 2 in the last 30 years in terms of a weekly performance on tour.
Yep.
Against
Literally
the entire
second
field.
best ball striking week in the modern
Recorded.
era.
Yeah. I mean, that is just mind-blowingly good. It's funny because I remember at that time, that was when Vijay was vying for number 1. He had won 4 or 5 tournaments that year. And growing up in Boston, I remember going to see the Deutsche Bank, and I mean that guy at the time was. People kind of forget about Vijay's dominance. I know it's kind of a tangent, but he was the top. I mean, he was number 1 in the world.
Yeah.
He was a top 3 player for what?
Yeah.
5, 6, 7 years.
He had the misfortune of peaking when Tiger Woods was peaking.
Yeah.
You could say the same for Phil.
Ernie,
but
Phil.
Tiger or Vijay even more so.
Yeah.
I mean, unbelievable how good he was, and you got to think, if Tiger never came around, what could have been? But you can say, like you said, you can say the same for Ernie or Phil. It just goes to show you how good Tiger was. But Vijay was, God, I mean, talk about a flusher.
Yeah.
But, sometimes you come around one of the greatest players of all time, and just is what it is.
So ShotLink, we were kind of digging into that a little bit. Obviously, with Scotty's, Scheffler's ability right now, I would imagine he's
Enjoying the episode? Leave a like and subscribe for new videos and hot takes every week. Do you love golf? Check out our sponsor at golfdirectnow.com. Earn rewards and points on every purchase with all the top brands in golf. Now, back to the episode.
Okay, so I know you wanted to talk a little bit about, Nate, about smash factors on tour.
Yes,
And
something I feel passionate about, probably irrationally passionate about.
well, a little bit, but it's reasonable. I think I understand where your passion comes from. All right, so let's give our massive listening audience right now just a basic understanding of what smash factor is and COR, that sort of thing. So, okay, so COR, coefficient of restitution, a very scientific, Einsteinian term, but basically it describes how efficiently energy is transferred between two moving objects, right? And how much energy is lost on one versus lost on the other object. Essentially, ball and club, boom, when they make contact.
Trampoline effect.
Exactly, trampoline effect.
Simplest of terms.
Yep. Now, there's a catchy term out there called smash factor. It's got a little bit more pizzazz than coefficient of restitution. Smash factor is a number, essentially it's a ratio of ball speed to club speed, right? The USGA, under the rules of golf, R&A as well, right, they stipulate that a ball can only move up to 1.5 times the speed of the club head. So, for example, if you're swinging your driver at 100 miles an hour, the fastest the ball can go off of a perfectly struck shot should be 150 miles an hour, 1.5. All right, if you're swinging it at 80, the fastest it can go is 120. If you're swinging it like Rory, who's swinging at 120 miles an hour, the fastest the ball should go is 180 miles an hour. Now, I say should, just to kind of, jab you a little bit.
Yes,
right?
as fast as it should go. So one could infer, based on that knowledge of the USGA limits of golf clubs, that if you achieve a smash factor higher than 1.5, that club should be illegal, correct?
Correct, sir.
Because the ball is coming off faster than given the rules of golf. Some people like to say that their drivers are hot. I think what they're referring to is how fast the ball comes off the face. So the COR has been maxed out for maybe 2 decades now. Drivers have gotten longer because they've tweaked things as far as launch and spin characteristics. But that being said, if you hit it right off the center of the face, a modern driver versus something that's very old should go about the same. Now, like I said, they do go further because you get proper fittings, and they also go quite a bit further on off-center hits because with the modern driver, you don't lose as much ball speed if you mishit it. You're also seeing less of a spin increase when you mishit it. So,
yeah, that's all important, right? They're basically they all have a governor. They're all up against the edge, just like NASCAR
and
has
they have
on
been
engines.
for quite some time.
Right, and they're just becoming more forgiving, and they also help in other, important or significant ball flight characteristics like spin, launch angle, that sort of thing.
However, if you look at the PGA Tour current smash factor, this is all public knowledge. You can Google PGA Tour average smash factor. 1.5 is the highest it's supposed to be, correct?
That's correct.
Now, what would you guess the ranking on tour is for, again, this is average, these are not the best hits, average smash factor of 1.50. Where do you think that ranks on the PGA Tour?
1.50. Boy, I mean, it's, to me, Mr. Joe Layman.
I mean, it should be 1.
Should be number 1, right? And they should all be at 1.5, right?
It's currently tied for 135th on tour.
135th player
Is
on
what's
tour
supposed to be the legal limit.
is who's basically pitching it perfect out of the center of the club face 100% of the time, averaging 1.5.
How do you feel about that?
Well, it makes me wonder. What's number 1? And who is number 1?
Trevor Cohn averaging 1.521.
1.521.
Now,
who you got
also,
in the top 10 there?
Hank Lebioda, Eric Barnes, Hayden Buckley, Cam Davis, Sean O'Hare, Brian Stewart, Ryan Armour, Tyler Duncan. Now, I'm not claiming that these are the best drivers on tour because clearly they're not. What I am saying is they're all using drivers that would not pass a CT test.
I like that. I would imagine
because they don't CT test very often at all. And when they do, maybe one guy gets slapped on the wrist and nothing happens. He just gets a new head out of the tour van that day.
I would imagine they're probably CT testing more at the USGA events.
Well,
Right?
let's
I would
see.
think, since
Maybe
it's
somebody will get
their
slapped
rule.
this week.
Right,
I don't know.
but to your point, it's like drug testing in
Yeah.
Major League Baseball.
Now,
20
I
years
don't
ago.
believe the players
Didn't happen.
necessarily know that they're playing illegal clubs, nor do I necessarily believe that they're intentionally given. I believe that they are giving clubs that are right at the legal limit. I don't think that they're given clubs that exceed it. However, when they get hit over and over and over, these guys hit thousands of balls, drivers actually get faster. Rory talked about earlier this year at the Players' Championship, he no longer wanted to use his Stealth 1 because he felt that it wouldn't pass the CT test. He's a man of honor. Props to him for that. Had he continued playing it, would anything have happened? No, probably not. He could have kept using a driver that was coming off faster, the ball coming off faster than
Well,
it
you
should
think he probably ran the scenarios in his head like,
Yeah, he's probably like,
it's a lot of
why did I
egg on
just
my
get...
face if I.
Well, that, and
Right.
he knows his numbers. He's probably like, 192 ball speed, weird. That isn't supposed to happen,
impossible.
given that I'm swinging it at 121 or whatever he lives around.
So newsflash, you're telling me that the more a driver is
Yes.
hit, the hotter it gets.
Yes. Every now and then we get somebody in here who claims that their driver head is dead. That's not a thing.
Every now
it's
and then.
actually the opposite. Now, until it cracks. And it's very rare. It's never happened to me. I've seen it happen a few times. Because they make the face as thin as possible, and over repeated abuse, driver heads the face of them do crack. And at that point, you are losing ball speed. But the fastest a driver's ever going to
This
be...
is compromised. I mean,
Correct.
the structure of the
I mean, you
club's
could still
compromised.
probably hit it fine. And a lot of guys might, not a lot of guys, but there might be some cracked driver heads floating out there on the amateur level, and guys hit them fine and they don't notice the difference. The fastest a driver's ever going to be is that last shot you hit right before it cracks. So I guess what I'm claiming, based on data that's in front of me, is a lot of these guys are using heads that are essentially illegal. And I don't think they were in the first place. They just hit them over and over and
Became
over and
that
over. And now they're hotter than what's legally allowed.
So we did this, right? It was a couple of months ago, right? We got our demo heads in from the major manufacturers. You got your stock or your staff driver in, right, from a few of the guys, right? Hey, test this, try this, Nate. Because you swing, your driver speed is, when you're cruising, you're what, 114, 115,
Yeah, right around
something
there,
like that,
like
right?
mid-one teens, yeah.
Yeah, so you hit it, which is, I wish I could steal some of that. I just didn't get out there, but so you hit yours, brand new out of the box, right? And you're getting whatever, 148, 149, 15, 149, 15, 149, 148, right? Back and forth, and you're striking it out of the center. Okay, let's try switching it to the, whatever, whether it's the Stealth 2 head that's been, hit for a couple of months, in our bays, or the Paradigm, or the TSR, or whatever it is, right? And let's put that head in on your shaft. And suddenly, 1.5, 151,
Yep.
1.5, 152, 151, 151, 1.5, 149, 1.5. It's like, well, noticeably better, right, on average. And your ball speed went up by a few miles an hour.
Yeah, which is not insignificant. I mean, we're talking
Not at all.
maybe a half club to a full club less into each green.
So we get that question a lot too, Nate, right? Where customers come in or they call us or they ask us or whatever, right? And they say, well, I can pick up so many yards, right, with this driver. What's the fastest? Okay, we do our fitting and then we show, okay, over their current stuff, you can pick up 4 yards and 3 miles an hour ball speed. Well, what's the price? So it's $5.99 for basically all the current top of the line items. Ooh, man, is it worth it? Well, I don't know. That's subjective. Objectively, we're telling you, yes, it's going to beat it. But for the guys who make a living doing this, anything is important, whether they're paying for the product or not, right? In this case, none of the tour guys are paying for their own stuff. But if they can pick up a yard or two, right, a couple miles an hour, ball speed, shave 100 RPMs, anything like that, they're going to go for it, right? Objectively, it's a better product, right? So the more a club has been hit, the faster it's going to produce, a ball flight or a ball speed, right? So I think that's huge.
So give me that demo head. Give me the one that's been hit 1,000 times. I don't care if the paint's chipping off of it. I don't care if it has sky marks. If that thing's marginally faster, that's the one I want.
All right, so if you had to buy your clubs, which you don't, right? Because that's part of the gig, right? We went to school for it. We paid for it. Hey, we get free clubs. Sorry, right? So if you had to buy a driver, would you consider going into the store, a place that does fittings, right? And say to the guy, hey, I'm going to pay you $5.99. Go in the back, get a new head, put that head right back in your fitting drawer and give me the fitting head.
Yes,
Right?
absolutely. I want that exact same head that I hit. I don't care what it looks like, and I will pay full price for it. I mean, if you give me
As long as it's not,
whoever, if
sky
you give me
marks
Hank
and-
Lebiota's driver, I'd probably pay double for it, because if that thing's averaging 1.521, yes, please.
Yeah, that's impressive. That's really impressive. Now, one thing to keep in mind, right? Any distance gains are going to be greater the faster the ball
higher
is moving,
speeds, right.
right? So, we get this a lot too, where guys come in and like, oh, I want to pick up 10, 15 yards. Well, you're swinging your driver at 95 miles an hour. It's going to be really hard to gain what, could be 6-7% of your overall carry, 8% of your overall carry. That's a big jump.
Right.
It's much easier to get 6, 7, 8 yards for a higher swing speed player, right, who can generate more speed, more ball speed off the club face at impact. And that's a smaller percentage gain, but it is still a significant gain. So that's one thing I think for your average golfer to kind of keep in mind. Golf swing is physics. Physics is math, right? We can figure out that if you're swinging at essentially a certain speed, TrackMan is just collecting data. It doesn't care who's hitting it. It's nothing personal. It's, it doesn't care if you're a guy or girl, old, young. It doesn't matter. Right? It's just going to tell you what is possible and what isn't. And, I think having a realistic idea of what is possible is more useful for a golfer than not.
Yes. In what we see in here, most of the time, we do get distance gains. And maybe their head, see, the thing is it's not hotter off the center, but if it's hotter on off-center heads, and they're currently playing something that's the wrong shaft or the wrong flex or the wrong loft, all those things factored in, yeah, I've had guys pick up 20 yards in here. It doesn't mean that, that club that they purchase is a magic bullet that everybody's going to pick up. In fact, some people might hit it shorter because it's right for that player and not the next player.
Yeah, don't listen to your buddies in your golf group on Saturday mornings. Right. Really, you shouldn't pay attention to them at all, except to know where the bet is.
Exactly. But with that, if a head's hotter, it's hotter at the end of the day, and that's the one I want.
Absolutely.
Regardless, I can put my own shaft on it and all that stuff. But so I guess what I'm saying is, if the clubs fit to you, you will gain yardage. But to me, it just seems insane that the best players in the world, who already hit it off the center of the face way more often than anybody we ever play with, are still given an advantage given their driver heads. To the point where, there's all this talk about bifurcation. I think the game's kind of bifurcated the other way. I think you're giving the best players in the world, who would still be the best players in the world regardless of what they're playing. If it's standardized equipment, doesn't matter. They're always going to be the best players in the world. But the best players in the world, I would argue, are getting an advantage over your average guy because of their driver heads, because when they play a hole where there's trouble long, they've got grandstands back there. How nice would that be if you could airmail a green and just get to drop it on the fringe?
Or take pictures of...
They'll never lose a ball as long as it's on the course. It's going to be found. I don't have that luxury. If it rained 3 weeks ago, maybe they'll play lift, clean, in place. Shout out to the tour for doing that more often than they should. I'm not saying that their scores are, maybe they wouldn't even be that much difference, and I can't stress enough they are clearly the best players in the world. But to give them even more of an advantage over your average 20 handicap at the club who's playing a Tuesday afternoon game is kind of insane to me.
Oh yeah, I'm sorry. Look, if you're a member at a club and you're a good player, okay, I would consider a good player a 5 or better. Right? Anyone kind of north of a 5, single digit, all right, you're hanging in there. You're doing all right. You kind of know how to golf your ball around. You still probably have somewhat of an outsized appreciation of your abilities than what's realistic. my favorites are the highest handicappers who just, they just flat out come out and tell you that they suck, right? I suck. I like going out here drinking. I like gambling with my
fair.
friends. And, I'd like to get better, but I admit that I suck at this game, right? And that's okay. They are way past denial. They're in the stage of acceptance. Okay, moving on, right? And moving forward from there. But I just seem like I hear it all the time from guys who are in that upper single digit cap or even kind of mid single player who think, you know what, one, I'm getting close to 50. Give me a couple of years when I retire. I'm going to grind. I'm really going to get my handicap down. I'll be a plus here, and maybe I'll give it a run. Something along those lines. Or hey, we have a kid locally in the area, and he's a stick, right? And he's played D1 college golf and wants to move on to try to qualify for the tour, and he's asking us all for, say if we can, pool 40 grand to basically, house him on the road, to try to grind for a mini tour and stuff like that. Oh, the guy's unbelievable, right? And he can't even sniff getting access to Monday qualifiers. It's because there is such a gap, and most golfers, if not all average recreational golfers, can't comprehend how big of a gap it is from your scratch or plus handicap at the club to high-level D1 player to professional, Korn Ferry, to PGA Tour, LPGA Tour status. I mean, the gap is mind-numbingly big. It's not even close. They play a completely different game. And then to your point, why not give them even more advantage? Right? Sure looks good on TV, though, right?
Right.
And that's
Well, it's just stupid. I mean, if you look at any high-level tour event they're playing, a more difficult golf course with a more difficult setup, and the guys who shoot the moon shoot like a couple 74s. I mean, I'll take that at the local muni. I mean, that's fine, but you're just, I don't know, the guys that are able to maintain tour status, it is otherworldly. You have to be a true freak. I mean, give me the worst strokes gained category in every category on the PGA Tour now, and I will be a better golfer. I mean, I would probably be a +4. Give me number 130 or 125 on the money list in every category. The worst putter who keeps his tour card, the worst driver, that guy's still going to be a plus handicap.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
They're just so good at everything. So, in a way, it's kind of not, I mean, Scotty Scheffler's putting is not great right now. Still way better than average golfer. Just really poor when we're comparing him to, the best putters on tour.
I would still argue, though, I would say that his putting at Memorial was might have been high single-digit status. I mean, it was bad. Bad.
I don't know. I mean, the alarm bells are going off for me with that. It has been for a while. We should. It's something to monitor, surely.
I mean, he would be wiping the floor with everybody right now.
Yeah, it wouldn't
everyone.
Be fair. Yeah.
I mean, he wouldn't. He'd be light years ahead of Rahm and McIlroy right now if he was pouring putts in.
Yeah, he's top 5ing, top 10ing, and losing strokes on the greens.
That's crazy. Yeah. That's amazing.
And what's weird to me is he's still gaining strokes with chipping, because usually they kind of go hand in hand. If you got short game woes or chipping, no, he's still chipping it great. There's something with that flat stick in his hands that it's just, I don't know.
Oh, he sucks. He sucks right now with the putter. He's got to figure it out. I'm hoping whatever he's got new in the bag this week.
Watch, he goes and wins by half a dozen.
Yeah, of course. And we look like absolute fools. Everybody does, right?
Yeah.
I guess we're kind of part of the golf media now at this point.
Oh, yeah, sure.
I haven't seen my badges show up in the mail yet, though. Have you?
No, Nick, can you get us some badges for this week's?
We got to get some access to whatever else is coming up here soon.
No problem.
Producer
Nick.
Nick.
Press room.
No problem.
All right.
I want to ask these guys about the PGA Live merger, because I don't think they've been asked about it yet. I haven't really read anything about that. Have you?
Yeah. About what?
The PGA Tour Live merger. I feel like they're not getting questions.
They're merging? It's unbelievable. Oh, that's incredible. Man, I'm going to have a heart attack like Jay Money. No, I'm kidding.
To steal Brooks
Hope he's
Koepka's
doing
quote at whatever, last year's U.S. Open, I hope it doesn't put a black cloud over the, not because I think it's going to put a black cloud, it's just we've got primo golf this week. LACC looks unbelievable. Let's not, hopefully come tomorrow, we're not talking about anything Live, and it's just strictly on the golf, because it is going to be a primo week to watch.
I hope so. I think I've been excited about this U.S. Open for a few years, right? Since they announced it was going to LACC, and it's going back to LACC in 38, 39.
Maybe, and probably again
Something
in
like
like 55. I mean, they've got these
And
things out
31's heading to Riv. I think it's all but done. It's too bad our founding club here in the Chicagoland area
Boy, that'd be cool, wouldn't it?
couldn't make it work, but that's okay. But Riv is just going to be such a tremendous spotlight too.
And for us in the Midwest, we get primetime coverage.
I mean, yeah. Is there anything better than that?
I'm going to be hunkered down on my couch Sunday afternoon watching this thing. I
I
just
mean,
hope
you're
it's
putting
exciting.
the kids to bed tonight. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
She's accepted it, and it's Father's Day, so I feel like I get a little bit of a pass.
Yeah,
We'll see.
I would hope so.
But yeah,
Right.
yeah, it'll be a good week. Looking forward to it.
Yeah. Awesome. Cool. Well, I think that wraps up our our maiden voyage on.
I got rants
podcast.
about a lot of stuff cooking, but yeah, check out the PGA Tour average smash factor, and you tell me if you think they're using drivers that wouldn't pass a CT test.
We're running out of time. All right. We'll catch you guys later.
Cheers.